Aaliyah Boston's inclusion in early lineup discussions marks a quiet revolution in USA basketball's thinking. Once sidelined in favor of veterans with deeper resumes, Boston now stands as a blueprint for what the team could become. Mobile, efficient, and tailored for the international style of play. Her emergence, alongside breakout seasons from Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, is challenging long-held assumptions about what experience really means and whether holding on to legacy players is more about comfort than competitiveness.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
This evolving selection philosophy reflects a deeper readiness to move beyond tradition. No longer is dominance secured through reputation alone. Today, it's about constructing a roster that can outpace, outshoot, and outthink opponents across every position. With younger stars setting new standards and the game demanding greater flexibility, USA basketball faces a defining choice. Lean on legacy or build around form and fit. The right answer may determine whether the team stays ahead or falls behind in a rapidly shifting global arena. Angel Reese didn't just show up to dominate on the court. She showed up to change the narrative. In a recent behind-the-scenes conversation about the USA Basketball World Cup roster, she turned to Caitlin Clark and said, "No one can stop us." It wasn't just a flex, it was a statement, a rallying cry. Because for the first time in a long time, the women's national team is on the verge of something bold, actually choosing players based on current performance, not just legacy names. That shift in philosophy is ruffling feathers across the league. In the past, Olympic and international team selections felt like exclusive reunions of the old guard. Awards, years in the league, and media reputation held more weight than who was actually dominating on the court. But now, that script is getting shredded. Fast. And Angel Reese, alongside Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, is front and center in that. Caitlin Clark's rookie season lit a fire under USA basketball's traditional model. Her exclusion from the 2024 Olympic team was seen as more political than practical. She led the league in assists, sparked sellouts in every arena she entered, and elevated the Indiana Fever's entire offensive identity. And yet, she was left off the plane to Paris. That snub didn't go unnoticed, and it certainly didn't go unchallenged. Clark's response? She kept playing, kept leading, kept proving exactly why she belongs. Her playmaking, court vision, and perimeter shooting weren't just impressive. They were internationally transferable. If the World Cup Selection Committee was still clinging to legacy over logic, Clark's tape made that choice a lot harder to defend, especially when fans and analysts alike started pointing out that her skill set fits perfectly into the faster-paced, perimeter-heavy style of international. Aaliyah Boston's name was also thrown into the conversation early, and for good reason. Her dominance in the paint, defensive presence, and rebounding instincts make her a rare two-way threat. Boston's style is tailor-made for international play. She isn't just tough, she's efficient. And when the debate started around building a new, balanced roster, Boston's name was one of the few that bridged both camps. Respected by veterans, feared by opponents, and embraced by fans. She's the type of player that makes traditional positions irrelevant. She can switch on defense, space the floor, and run in transition. Everything the USA team lacked during previous slow starts against international teams, Boston brings naturally. It's no coincidence that her rise coincides with the broader shift toward players who fit systems, not just reputations. Compilation. USA basketball has finally been forced to look in a mirror. The old formula, stacking the roster with familiar faces from years past, isn't cutting it anymore. Teams like France, Australia, and Spain have gotten younger, faster, and more positionless. They're not intimidated by the names on a jersey. They're looking to outrun and outshoot you, which is exactly why the U.S. can't afford to roll out legacy picks and expect gold. That means the painful part, saying no to names like Alyssa Thomas, Brittany Griner, and Chelsea Gray. Not because they weren't once elite, but because the game has moved, and they haven't moved with it fast enough. System fit, age, and the ability to execute at full throttle matter more now than ever. If a player isn't a shooting threat or can't keep up defensively in transition, they're a liability, regardless of resume. There's still a lingering frustration about how Clark's initial exclusion was handled. The public wasn't just upset because she was left off, it was how little logic seemed to support the decision. Her omission sparked debates across sports media, with arguments ranging from she needs to earn her stripes to she doesn't have chemistry with the vets. But when the metrics showed she was outperforming several guards selected ahead of her, that logic fell apart. Fans wanted answers. They saw the favoritism, and they called it out. Clark kept her composure in public, but the sentiment was clear. This wasn't about ability. It was about comfort zones. And now, with the World Cup ahead, selectors don't have the luxury of picking based on comfort. It's win or go home. And Clark wins. Pairing Caitlin Clark with Aya Wilson in a World Cup setting might be the single most explosive offensive combination available. Wilson brings size, speed, and rim protection, while Clark stretches the floor and keeps defenses honest. Their pick-and-roll potential is terrifying, and their styles don't clash. They amplify each other. This is what building a team based on fit looks like. Wilson is already a lock, but surrounding her with complementary pieces like Clark and Boston means you're not just bringing star power, you're bringing synergy. USA basketball's best shot at maintaining global dominance comes from combinations like this, not legacy pairings that haven't adapted to the modern game. International games are won at the three-point line and in transition, two areas where Clark thrives. Her ability to pull up from deep, run the break, and find open teammates with cross-court dimes is exactly what the U.S. has lacked in recent years. The days of grinded-out post play are fading. Today's game is spacing, shooting, and speed. Clark's three-point range forces defenders out of the paint, opening lanes for slashers and cutters. She's not just a shooter, she's a magnet. Opponents have to game plan around her, and that kind of attention creates mismatches across the board. If you're building a team to win internationally, she's not optional, she's essential. The shift from legacy to merit hasn't been easy, especially when some of those legacies are legends like Sue Bird. Her retirement marked the end of an era, but her presence in recent years symbolized a team afraid to move on. Now, Clark is stepping into that same role, except she earned it by redefining what a modern point guard looks like. Unlike the past, when Bird's playmaking and calm presence were irreplaceable, the current roster has multiple young guards who can do it all: score, pass, shoot, and defend. Clark represents that evolution. She's not here to inherit the old playbook. She's here to write the next one. Then there's the Diana Taurasi question, the player whose Olympic tenure has lasted through 5 games. Her place in history is cemented, but her place on the future roster? Not so much. Taurasi's spot was once untouchable. Now, with the team pivoting toward younger, more agile players, her limitations have become harder to overlook. It's not about disrespect, it's about results. Taurasi's game hasn't kept pace with the physicality and speed of international competition. Clark, on the other hand, represents that exact direction. Quick release, fast tempo, switchable defense. Replacing legend with logic isn't betrayal. It's necessary evolution. Of course, with so much riding on new stars, there's risk. Clark's workload, physicality of the league, and overall expectations have raised concerns about burnout and injury. She's already taken a few hard hits, and international play doesn't ease up. That's why roster depth matters. It's not just about putting your best 5 on the court. It's about having 10 players who can all start, all adapt, all deliver. USA basketball can't afford to lean on just one rising star. The roster must be stacked with players like Reese, Boston, and Clark, each capable of carrying the load. The new philosophy doesn't just challenge the old guard, it protects the future. Chemistry has never been more important. It's not just about how players perform individually, it's about how they elevate each other. Clark's growing on-court connection with teammates like Lexi Hull is proof of that. You can see in the spacing, the reads, the confidence they have in each other's shots. It's not flashy. It's effective. And when it comes to national team construction, these mini partnerships can be the edge. A roster built on synergy gets you further than a roster built on cloud. Selectors aren't just watching who scores, they're watching who gels. Hull and Clark have made a quiet but strong case that building around functional duos might be smarter than stacking solo stars. Meanwhile, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark have been turning heads, not just for their individual dominance, but for their growing alliance. The two have gone from rivals to rallying around each other in a very public way. The Ice Cube All-Star crossover moment wasn't just a PR splash. It hinted at a shared belief in rewriting how women's basketball is presented and respected. That energy, it's infectious, and it matters, because attitude and leadership off the court are influencing selections just as much as skill. Reese and Clark are showing they're ready to represent not just the USA, but the evolution of the sport itself. You can't fake that kind of three. On the hardwood, few duos have clicked faster than Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark. Their play in Indiana has been electric. The balance of Mitchell's slashing game and Clark's perimeter threat creates constant defensive chaos for opponents. And more importantly, it works in international play. What selectors need to see isn't just who racks up stats. It's who plays the international style fluently. Ball movement, speed, range. Mitchell and Clark have all three. So while other veterans bring experience, this duo brings efficiency. They don't just run plays, they break them wide. Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark might be the most dangerous inside-out pairing in the league right now. They've found rhythm, spacing, and mutual trust. Boston's ability to control the paint and hit mid-range jumpers gives Clark the freedom to roam, pass, or pull up from anywhere. That's the kind of versatility international competition demands. It's not about one superstar saving the day. It's about constructing two-way partnerships that adapt in real time. Boston anchors. Clark ignites. Together, they balance each other in ways no veteran-laden duo currently can. Of course, every era needs a rivalry. Caitlin Clark versus Paige Bueckers isn't just compelling, it's defining. Both players are likely candidates for Team USA in upcoming tournaments. And while their styles differ, their impact is undeniable. But here's the real question. Can they share the court? Or is there only room for one dynamic point forward in a system designed around speed and spacing? That's what the selectors need to figure out. Bueckers is surgical. Clark is explosive. They don't cancel each other out, but they do raise the stakes on roster decisions. Compilation 2. The World Cup isn't a victory lap, it's a test. A brutal, high-speed chess match of a tournament. Teams from Europe and Australia don't just show up, they expose weaknesses. And that's where the obsession with legacy players gets dangerous. Slow-footed wings, guards who can't shoot, bigs who can't switch. These aren't minor issues, they're liabilities. Match footage from the past few years proves it. USA basketball can't survive with players who don't fit the pace. That's why names like Clark, Reese, Boston, and Mitchell have risen. They bring firepower, and more importantly, they bring solutions. When Clark finally spoke about her Olympic snub, she didn't play the victim. She didn't trash-talk the process. She simply said she would keep working, keep improving, and be ready when the call came. That restraint, that professionalism, it's exactly what USA basketball needs in a leader. She knows what's at stake, and she knows how to play the long game. The decision-makers may have hesitated before, but Clark's continued dominance has forced the conversation forward. Her numbers do the talking. Her leadership does the convincing. Too. Still, the pressure and physical toll of Clark's rapid rise can't be ignored. She's taken hard fouls, played through nagging injuries, and faced relentless defensive traps. The target on her back is real. And with every game, the weight of expectations grows heavier. But it's also made her tougher, smarter, more adaptable. Those are traits you can't teach. And while injury risks are always part of the equation, Clark's ability to bounce back and bounce forward makes her more durable than people expected. She's not just ready for the World Cup. She's built for it. Another underrated connection? Clark and Sophie Cunningham. The two have shown surprising cohesion both on and off the court. Cunningham brings edge. Clark brings tempo. Together, they've managed to create a mix of grit and grace that international games thrive on. Cunningham's shooting keeps defenses honest. Clark's passing makes her even more lethal. This isn't about star duos. It's about functional trios, quartets, and rotations. And this combo, it's got layers. The kind you need in the late rounds of a knockout bracket, when flashy play fades and smart execution takes over. There's something poetic about seeing Caitlin Clark in an Indiana Fever jersey, knowing how far she's come, and how far she's about to go. That jersey, once a symbol of rebuilding, is now a sign of resurgence. Clark hasn't just changed the team, she's changed expectations. It's the same effect she could have on Team USA. Her presence would mean more than just spacing and shooting. It would mean momentum, cultural shift, the future worn on a jersey. And with the World Cup looming, USA basketball needs more than legacy names and highlight reels. It needs game changers. Clark isn't asking for a seat at the table. She's building the next one. Kelsey Plum is no stranger to the national spotlight. She's fast, fearless, and she knows how to score at will. But what's fascinating about her connection with Caitlin Clark is how seamlessly their styles could complement each other. Plum brings off-ball aggression and transition speed. Clark brings floor vision and three-point gravity. Put them together, and you've got two perimeter threats who can run the break or stretch the defense at any moment. This isn't about redundancy. It's about pressure. Having two dynamic scorers on the floor forces opponents to make impossible choices. Double one, the other makes you pay. USA basketball has leaned too long on static rotations and predictable ISO plays. Clark and Plum together are chaos. And then there's Breanna Stewart, the vet who still has game, but now faces pressure from a new wave of talent. Her spot on the World Cup roster is likely secure, but the bigger story is how the team's younger core interacts with her. Stewart has the experience. She's been there, won that. But the system can't be built around her anymore. It has to flow. That's where Clark becomes critical. Stewart can still dominate inside and out, but with Clark pulling defenders to the perimeter, Stewart suddenly gets cleaner looks, fewer double teams, and more space to operate. It's not about phasing out legends. It's about plugging them into smarter systems. Stewart's leadership still matters, but her best minutes come when Clark is feeding her in rhythm, not when she's asked to carry the entire. Every time the camera zooms in on Caitlin Clark during a game, you can see it, the calculation, the confidence, the edge. She's not just playing. She's reading, reacting, planning her next move. It's what separates stars from superstars. She isn't just part of the system. She's actively rewriting it. Those moments of intensity, captured in a close-up, tell the whole story. She knows she belongs on that stage, and she knows the pressure that comes with it. Clark doesn't flinch. She feeds on it. That demeanor is why so many fans, and now selectors, believe she's the cornerstone of a new era for Team USA. When Clark speaks, it's direct. No ego, no theatrics, just clarity. She talks about work ethic, about fit, about learning. She doesn't chase headlines. But when she says, "I just want to win," it hits harder than 1,000 Instagram posts. Because you believe her. In an environment still adjusting to post-legacy politics, Clark's straight-shooting attitude is refreshing. She's not begging for respect. She's earning it. In USA basketball, after years of leaning on personalities over production, is starting to notice. The flashy era is giving way to a focused one. Clark is the face of that transition. It's all over the footage. Clark pulling up from the logo. Clark launching a no-look dime in transition. Clark sprinting back on defense after a turnover. These aren't highlight moments. They're habits. Every game she plays adds another reel to the argument that she's the most complete young player in the league. The match photos say what the stats can't. She's locked in, every possession, every game. There's no off switch. In an international play, that matters. When games get ugly, when spacing disappears, when the whistle swallows the contact, it's players like Clark who survive. Not because they're flashy, because they're off the court. Clark's crossover appeal is growing, and partnerships like the one with Nelly Korda show just how wide her influence is reaching. She's not just a basketball player anymore. She's a brand. But what makes it different is that the brand is rooted in performance. She's not going viral for off-court drama. She's going viral for 30-foot bombs and fearless drives. Team USA has always valued image, but now it has a player who checks both boxes, star power and stat lines. That mix doesn't come around often. Clark isn't chasing fame. Fame is chasing her. And that magnetism? It's what USA basketball needs to inspire a new generation of fans and redefine what the women's national team represents in 2026 and beyond. It's not just about who Clark connects with. It's about who gets better because of her. Sophie Cunningham's aggressive style has always bordered on chaotic, but with Clark nearby, her decision-making has sharpened. Her shot selection has improved. Her movement off the ball is more calculated. That's the Clark effect. She organizes the chaos. She speeds up the game without losing control of it. Cunningham benefits. So do the shooters. So do the slashers. When a player makes everyone around them better, you don't bench them for being young or new to the system. You build the system around them. Even Gino Orima, known for his loyalty to veteran leadership, has started to acknowledge the shift. While he hasn't endorsed any individual by name, his recent comments on building a team for the game we'll face, not the game we remember, felt loaded. And everyone knew who he was talking about. Clark's style doesn't fit the old blueprint, and that's the point. The game is moving forward, and Orima, one of its sharpest architects, knows it. His respect for the traditional greats hasn't wavered, but his priorities have. He's watching what Clark is doing, and he knows exactly how that translates to the global stage. Even during her time off, Clark is competing, whether it's a charity golf match or a promotional crossover. But those moments reveal something important. She's constantly learning, constantly adjusting, and always comfortable under pressure. You don't have to be on the court to see how she carries herself. It's consistent across every environment. That mental focus is crucial. The World Cup isn't just about skill. It's about recovery, endurance, and composure. Clark's already juggling expectations that would break most players, and she's not just surviving, she's thriving. Every outing, even on a golf course, reinforces the same idea. She belongs. Sue Bird knows what a generational shift looks like. She lived through several. And if there's anyone who understands how hard it is to let go of familiarity, it's her. But Bird has also made it clear that the next chapter isn't optional, it's necessary. Her interactions with Clark have been supportive, even symbolic. One era nodding to the next. Bird was the system. Clark is the shake-up. And instead of resisting it, Bird appears ready to pass the baton. Not because she has to, but because she knows the game will be in good hands. Is standing at a crossroads. The old guard wants to run it back. The new wave is ready to run it over. Caitlin Clark isn't just a name on a jersey. She's a test. A test of whether selectors will choose comfort or choose to win. The stats are clear. The system is changing. The only question left is, will they evolve fast enough to keep up with her? Let us know what you think. Who should make the cut? Who should be left off? And whether Team USA is finally ready to let go of the past. If you're just as tired of the legacy picks and ready to see a real shift in women's basketball, hit that like button, drop your take in the comments, and subscribe for more breakdowns like this, because this roster shakeup is just getting started.